Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Ciara Revin, and this is the Sunday 7.
On today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we check in on a den full of rattlesnakes, discover how Japanese scientists have created living skin in a lab, track the revolution in home testing, and hear about the wild conspiracy theories on social media after Donald Trump's brush with death. If you're enjoying today's episode, please do follow, like and share. And remember, the Smart 7 is here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 things you need to know. But first, it was on this day in 1969, astronauts Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong safely departed the moon after a 21.5-hour landing, which saw them plant an American flag, collect soil samples and, of course, make one small step for man. They left behind the lower part of their moon lander, which has a plaque attached that reads, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon. We came in peace for all mankind." The first report from the UK's COVID inquiry was released on Thursday, and it painted a pretty damning picture of a government and a healthcare system that just wasn't prepared for the pandemic. In fact, arguably, most of the preparations were for the wrong kind of pandemic, and the slow reaction and lack of essentials like mass testing systems and PPE were serious contributory factors in the deaths of almost 250,000 people. It seems remarkable now that most houses have some testing kits for COVID, and that we're fully confident in gathering a swab, preparing a sample and administering our own tests. Inevitably, there'll still be those who can't read the difference between a positive and a negative test, but it's a major change in terms of how society is able to respond to mass health events. Equally, home testing helps to take pressure off hospitals and emergency departments as it acts as a filtering mechanism. So it's not surprising that we're seeing a new wave of home testing for different conditions, and one of the first is screening for cervical cancer. A trial has been underway at King's College in London, which is intended to detect HPV, which causes cervical cancer. Dr. Aziza Sesay is the Vice Chair of Black Female Doctors UK and an honorary senior clinical lecturer. And she was on BBC Breakfast this week to explain how the home kit will work for a cervical swab.
The great thing about this HPV self-sampling is that you can do it yourself. Basically, it looks like a swab, cotton wool swab, or the long COVID swab. And what you do is, as an individual, it has instructions. We talk to patients through how to use it. You use the long swab. You only need to put your finger about halfway through. There's usually a demarcation, and then you can stand with your legs propped up on a chair or on the toilet if you're there, or you can be seated. Pop it into the vagina in a similar manner. Okay. It probably gets about halfway. So once you feel the swab on your skin, onto your vulval skin, then you're in. Turn it around for 20 seconds, take it out, pop it into the sample pot, and then send it off.
And that's not the only one of these tests out there, as a HPV test based on a menstrual blood sample is also now available, although it's about $200 for the kit. Andrew Parfery is the programme manager for the Venture Builder Incubator at the University of Edinburgh, and he explains how this one works.
This company called Packham came on the Venture Builder Incubator. It's founded by someone called Sanziana Fwa, and she's developed a non-invasive cervical cancer screening product which can be used at home. What it effectively does is enable you to take a swab sample of menstrual blood and have it analysed in the device that she's developed, and within 15 minutes it will therefore give you the results of that test. So gone now, hopefully, will be the days of having to go somewhere, have an invasive procedure, and indeed have to wait weeks for the results.
Home testing doesn't stop there. There's also an online test for ADHD, a condition which can take a long time to be diagnosed, with waiting lists often extending for years. But the NHS has been testing a new online tool for ADHD, which would resolve diagnosis more quickly, particularly when it comes to children. The test involves a camera that tracks movement as well as response time. And Jess, who is part of the clinical team for the QB test, says that means there's less subjective decisions clinicians involved in the diagnosis.
It means that it's not influenced by what a teacher thinks, what a parent thinks. It's that child's levels of activity, how easy or hard it is for them to pay attention, and how impulsive they are.
Henry Shelford is from ADHD UK, and he says the fact that the QB test will shortly roll out across the NHS will make a huge difference.
This is the start of something game-changing in that it's the start of people looking at how can we give the NHS the tools to make ADHD assessments more effective, more efficient, so that we can diagnose those people who are waiting, and it is hundreds of thousands.
It's been a strange week on social media, with the attempted assassination of former US President Trump generating an extraordinary amount of conspiracy theories in just 7 days. Twitter, or X, was awash with misinformation, disinformation and flat-out lies. When it comes to all things social and tech, there's only one man to call. Our own favourite conspiracy buster, the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. So, Will, I read some CNN research that says that only 5 of the top 100 Trump conspiracy theories on X had any kind of fact-checking. Has Elon just given up on reality?
The world's gone mad, and it feels like X is literally sending us over the edge. Within 30 seconds of the shot being fired at Trump, X was already suggesting it was staged, a CIA hit, and much more. And in a move that ignores the excellent work of the world's best press photographers, users on X were even suggesting the photos were just too perfect and planned by Trump himself, despite having just been shot. X was also instrumental in false claims that identified the shooter within about 30 minutes. It said it was an Italian sports writer who innocently writes about the football club AS Roma, and his photo and information was forwarded by citizen journalists as the shooter, and that was another lie willfully spread on the platform like a fart in a lift. Elon has since claimed that it was a huge weekend for X, but that's ignoring the fact it was propagating more guff than a field of my mother-in-law's prize cows.
He's publicly saying he's all in for Trump now, right? So can we expect X to become a full-on Trump propaganda machine?
Yep, to the extent he's offered $180 million of his own cash to help Trump's election campaign. Now, this is quite an about turn, given 2 years ago Musk suggested Trump should sail off into the sunset. Well, Trump called Musk, and I quote, a bullshit artist. Given Elon is now all in on the Donald, it's a wonder whether X can stay neutral in any way at all. But what makes this even stranger is that at the Republican conference, Trump has been talking up his love for TikTok, despite the fact that the US government wants to ban it because of Chinese ownership.
Mark Zuckerberg still seems to be following the rules though, right? He's actually scrapping Meta's AI plans for Europe. Why is that?
It would appear that Meta's appetite for a scrap with lawmakers is waning, to the extent the company is not going to release its major new AI service in Europe due to what Meta is calling regulatory unpredictability, and this doesn't happen very often at all. The EU was already questioning the terms and conditions of this AI, which said this new AI model would use pretty much everything you've ever said, thought or posted to Facebook or Instagram to train its new large language model, something that clearly alarmed lawmakers over privacy terms.
Things seem to be getting pretty tense between big tech and the EU. Where does that leave the UK?
With artificial intelligence such a focus for Meta, the bigger question is, where does this leave its services in Europe? Will the EU now end up with a restricted version of Instagram and Facebook? It's actually hard to tell right now, as the UK's new online safety bill gives our new government similar powers to challenge tech companies. And the reality is, despite being an island with 66 million people on it, most tech companies continue to lump the UK into Europe, as was the way pre-Brexit. It will be interesting to see whether we will see Meta's new AI services landing here, but at the moment, I'd go as far as saying we won't see them.
And while we're on AI and big tech, Australia is looking for new laws to tackle deep fakes, right? What's the plan?
In Australia, the Federal Police Union has recommended a new one-stop online portal for victims to support those targeted by AI deepfakes, after having to cobble together laws last year to charge the first Australian prosecuted for spreading deepfake images of women. These new laws in Australia and this portal will create a new criminal offence of sharing without consent sexually explicit images that have been digitally created using AI or other forms of technology.
Do you think that's going to work?
I think it's time to try anything that's going to protect people online. Law enforcement agencies can be slow in understanding these new online threats like revenge porn, so anything that can help make reporting easy at what is a distressing time for those targeted should actually be applauded.
And finally, Apple nerds, which I'm assuming includes you, Will. You seem quite excited about the new flashlight. Why?
I reckon the flashlight is probably one of my most used functions on the iPhone. You'll often find me creeping around in the middle of the night or attempting to find that important charger lead at the back of my tech cupboard, so this has actually got me pretty pumped. In iOS 18, the operating system on your iPhone, you get control of the focus and angle of your flashlight, as well as the brightness, and this is going to be pretty useful in my cupboard or when I'm out moonlighting as a milkman. Us flashlight fans have been waiting for this for ages.
Still to come on the Sunday 7, the UK's butterflies need your help, and could the future be nuclear? The big butterfly count has been on all this week across the UK, and no, we're not looking for big butterflies. It's more about seeing how many there are in different areas all across the UK. There are about 50 different species of butterfly across the UK, and they're a good indicator of the general health of the local environment. So knowing how many there are in each area is a really useful tool for scientists. Chris Packham is a naturalist and environmental campaigner, and he explains how the big butterfly count is working.
It's a fantastic piece of citizen science run by Butterfly Conservation. We ask for 15 minutes of your time to stand in any spot. Now, you don't have to be in the heart of the countryside. You can do this in the heart of the city. You don't need a garden. You can do it on a balcony. We need 15 minutes, and all you need to do is to look for a specific group of butterflies which are laid out either on the app or, of course, on the old-fashioned paper version. And all you've got to do is total up how many you see in 15 minutes and then send us your information. Loads of people do this. Over 100,000 people did it last year. They counted literally hundreds of thousands of insects, and this allows us to know exactly where these animals are.
Dr. Zoe Randall is a senior surveys officer at Butterfly Conservation, and she says the picture isn't pretty for butterflies.
Overall, the long-term trends show us that our butterflies are declining. 80% of butterfly species are declining in terms of abundance, so that's how many there are, and also in distribution, so where they're found. It's been quite a poor start to the year. We've had a lot of rain. It's been very dull, so we've had poor numbers through the spring. Summer, well, we've not really had much of a summer, have we? Maybe a couple of days if we've been lucky. So it's a poor summer so far as well, but the sun is coming out, and so hopefully butterfly numbers will be boosted and people will see lots of butterflies during their big butterfly counts. Every year it's different, top of the pops of pole position butterfly varies from year to year. A lot of that's due to the flight period and the phenology and whether it's been a slow start, what the weather's doing and all the rest of it. But last year, for the first time ever, we did manage to calculate 13-year trends from the big butterfly count data set, and we've compared those with the UK Butterfly Monitoring Scheme data, which is our gold standard survey that's been running since the 1970s. What's great is that the population trends are broadly similar.
The butterfly count runs until the 4th of August, and it's easy to take part. It will take just 15 minutes, and you can find out more at bigbutterflycount.org. Julie Williams is the CEO of Butterfly Conservation, and she's staying upbeat about the prospects of our winged friends as new initiatives like No Mow May and councils leaving more wild meadows should start to create more hospitable environments for insects, including butterflies.
I think we have to be hopeful. We have to be hopeful that we can make significant changes. At Butterfly Conservation, I'm really proud that we absolutely have the data to work out what those conservation solutions are, and then we turn that into action on the ground. We have just input the 60 millionth biological data record collected by thousands and thousands of volunteers over decades of work. That data is so important for us because we're not just talking as an organisation of this is what we think. We know what solutions are needed, but I think we need more. We need more money. We need more urgent action on the ground.
45 years ago, the accident at the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant, along with the Chernobyl disaster 7 years later, saw the beginning of a decline in the rush to nuclear power. The rate of new nuclear plants slowed, and mankind continued its obsession with fossil fuels as nuclear power just seemed too risky, and with the long-term issue of nuclear waste impractical and dangerous. But as the planet struggles with global warming, nuclear energy is making something of a comeback, but this time it's cleaner and leaner. 22 countries signed a declaration at the last COP summit, and that would see the planet's nuclear capacity triple by 2050. The UK is building 2 new reactors at Hinkley Point, but they're not expected to be online until 2031 at the earliest. The technology has also improved with small modular reactors, or SMRs, providing much greater flexibility in scale and location. Tom Greatrex is the CEO of the Nuclear Industry Association, and he says there have been some significant shifts in how nuclear power is viewed and constructed.
In the last couple of years, energy security has become much more of a factor in countries' consideration, and the focus on COP was also about decarbonisation, and nuclear power provides a lot of power from a relatively small footprint for a very long time without any carbon emissions at all. So those are the reasons why it's become important for countries, but it's a lot more than we've done over the last few years. It goes back to really the scale of what we did at the very start of the nuclear industry in the UK and France and the US, where we built a lot. In Canada, the first construction of an SMR will start in the early part of next calendar year. So they're real. They're close to being available. They're not yet available. Anything that you're able to build in modules in a factory and construct on site will be quicker than starting from scratch on a site. A lot of the interest in small modular reactor technologies is coming from direct users, data centres, etc., who can see that they're going to need a lot of power, and this is one way of being able to do that in a sustainable way.
Still to come on the Sunday 7, we find out how to make a robot smile, and we meet Mama Rattlesnake.
Right after this.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Welcome back.
You probably saw this somewhere online this week, a slightly bizarre pink smiley face with googly eyes. And believe it or not, it could be the solution to a whole host of issues with robots. The glistening pink disc with its awkward attempt at a smile is the result of a 10-year project to create living skin for use on robots and for things like testing cosmetics. It's the creation of scientists in the University of Tokyo who learned how to grow living skin cells into the shape of a face. But what makes it either fascinating or creepy is how they managed to use artificial ligaments to create the impression of a smile. That's not the end of the project either. They're hoping to develop more detailed systems, including a circulatory system and nerves. Lead researcher on the project is Shoji Takeuchi, who says apart from the applications with robots, it may also help lab testing of cosmetics on real skin.
Until now, no one had figured out how to make the living skin move, so by attaching these actuators and anchors, it became possible to manipulate living skin for the first time. This is a new technology that we developed. Various things have been talked about to reduce the creepiness of human-like robots, but I think one of the most important matters is the materials. I think that making robots out of the exact same materials as humans, and having them show the same expressions might be one key to overcoming the uncanny valley.
A couple of weeks ago, we heard about the double amputee professor Yu Her and the new research which involves bionic limbs partly controlled by the brain. Now an Italian project is revolutionising the way artificial limbs look and behave. Traditionally, artificial limbs have been stiff and single-purpose, but at the Italian Institute of Technology in Genoa, they've developed a prototype with a new approach to prosthetics. The Soft Foot Pro is an articulated artificial foot which moves and flexes like a regular foot, and it could revolutionise the way we think of prosthetics. Manuel Catalano is a researcher at the Institute, and he says that the idea of a flexible multi-purpose limb will make people's lives much easier.
The idea of the Soft Foot Pro, born from the study of the human feet, we are trying to have a system that users can adopt every day in their life without changing the feet for specific tasks. This means that we can use this prototype in every condition of our life. Indeed, we have a system of phalanx, bones, ligaments and muscles that allow us to deal with every kind of environment. What we are trying to do is to replicate this, translate this principle in a technology system that can be available for both humanoid robots and also prosthetic system for humans.
If you've ever seen a Western, you'll know this distinctive sound. The rattlesnake has become mainly known as a recurring plot device, but they're actually fascinating creatures, and now a new project in Colorado is streaming from a rattlesnake den with over 2,000 rattlesnakes. And that might sound like your worst nightmare, but the website rattlecam.org has been drawing huge interest from around the world. The megaden has given scientists a chance to get new insights on the reptiles. Rattlesnakes are usually in the snake world. They give birth to live pups, as baby rattlesnakes are known, and the mothers care for their young, protecting them against predators. And they'll even protect other rattlesnakes' babies too. So it turns out not only are the rattlesnakes good mothers, but they're also quite social and not particularly aggressive. The online observation project has been hugely beneficial to the study of the rattlesnake, and Dr. Emily Taylor, a biology professor at California's Polytechnic State University, is delighted that people are supporting and engaging with a reptile that's had a bad reputation.
I think the best thing about all of these things and the many other discoveries we're making is that people are helping us make those. So the people who are watching on YouTube Live are telling us, oh, this happened at this time. You need to go back to this. They're even helping us to identify some of the plants and some of the insects that visit. And so it truly is a group effort, a community science effort. That's something that we couldn't do on our own as scientists, but everyone's helping us do it.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
Hey, it's Paige DeSorbo from Giggly Squad. High quality fashion without the price tag. Say hello to Quince. I'm snagging high-end essentials like cozy cashmere sweaters, sleek leather jackets, fine jewelry, and so much more. With Quince being 50 to 80% less than similar brands. And they partner with factories that prioritize safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing. I love that. Luxury quality within reach. Go to quince.com/style to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. Quince.com/style.